I work for Minnesota State University Mankato. I'm in the role of the Knowledge Systems Architect under the Strategic Operations team here in Mankato. Essentially, I work pretty heavily within knowledge management, clearly, and I also do work in business analysis, analytics, project management, and we're trying to start up some problem management as well. So it's a little bit about me.
I'll go ahead and follow JC up. Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Scott. I am hailing from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I work at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. I am a help desk support supervisor, focusing with the Minnesota Supercomputing Institute for Research. Primarily here we do I do knowledge management, incident management, high performance computing, big data, anything that helps our researchers on campus focus on their research in collaboration with other universities around the United States.
Good afternoon, Mitch. Thanks so much for putting this together. My name is Anita McCarthy, and I work at Manhattan College. And we are we're liberal arts and engineering school located in the Riverdale section of the Bronx, just north of Manhattan. We have about 3,000 students undergrad and about 1,000 faculty members. And I work as a training coordinator in the IT department. I support like the help desk, the student workers and their training efforts, and that's where I use a lot of KCS. And I also support the staff of Manhattan College and the new initiatives that we're rolling out.
Richard Musil, Associate Director of IT for Client Service and Operations, which is basically means I'm responsible for a service desk, training, and our operations team, which is computer lab and classroom technology such as projectors, imaging, things of that sort.
Well, great. Thank you for the introductions. And again, let me just reiterate that I appreciate you taking your time today to talk to our group. I think this is going to be a wonderful and informative session. So let's dive right into it. So the first question here is, so really, why did you implement KCS? Again, you could just go around and, around the room and talk about why you implemented. So.
Okay. Sure. So in Mankato, we implemented KCS for a few different reasons. And it started back when essentially they started handing me over to some of these knowledge bases that we had. And we had them everywhere. We had disk space, we had cloud space, SharePoint, we had notes under keyboards, just in people's brains. So we had knowledge pretty much everywhere. And once I started getting in charge of more and more places, we had wikis too. I realized that it didn't make sense for anyone to have it in that many places, that we really needed to have it kind of in one place and have a shared language where everything was consistent no matter who wrote it. And so from that, I did some research and I was able to find KCS, Knowledge Center and Support. And thankfully was able to convince enough people, including executives, that that was the route that we needed to take and continue on with it. And so those are kind of, we really wanted to have that single knowledge base where everything was consistent, everything was searchable, both from internal and external as well. And whether that be for our support analysts, our customers, or just any staff in general, where they can find the answers to their questions. So that's why we implemented KCS.
So at Manhattan, we've been doing knowledge management for a while, but more traditional toward, okay, identifying somehow, okay, this is something we need to make a knowledge-based article for, and going and doing it, which was, I don't know if we call it reactive or what, but it was just not enough. There's a lot of knowledge that you get from just the ticketing and the day-to-day actions. And I first became aware of it actually at a Team Dynamics conference. There was a presenter, Kaylee Belda, who was very impressive and was talking about how they actually document every single ticket in the knowledge base. And they're doing a lot of great work there. So if you do get a chance to meet her, I'll definitely talk to her about it too. And we looked at how we could best do it with our resources. And what we've been doing is we don't necessarily document all of the tickets in the knowledge management, but we've implemented in our ticketing system the ability to flag a ticket. So a ticketing agent is instructed, if you think this is something worth documenting, please flag it. We also have a quality control side of things that reviews tickets that are closed daily, and they're also instructed. So that way we kind of have like a two-tier system that if the person themselves didn't think it was worth documenting, if the QC person thinks it's worth documenting, they can also flag it. Then what happens is once a week, Anita and I will review those flagged items and determine whether or not we should put them in the knowledge base. So I just check my notes to make sure I don't miss anything. I think that's the main points from our part.
Let's take a step back. For those of maybe in the group today that don't know what KCS, could one of you give us a nice summary of what KCS actually is?
I can do that for you. Do that, Mitch. So knowledge-centered support, KCS stands for knowledge-centered support. And basically what it revolves around is a revise upon review principle. So every time you look at knowledge and you touch knowledge, you always want to take it to improve it, to better it for your staff and for your customers. It's based off of kind of a double standard practice of evolving and solving, where you get information from your customers, you take that, translate it to knowledge, and then push it out to your customers in the form of knowledge bases and knowledge base articles. It's very high overview as we kind of use it here at the U of M.
All right, thank you, Shane. Let's move into our next question, although we did have a question. To the audience, feel free to interject a question by typing in the chat window, and then I'll just ask one of the panelists to take that. So we do have a question from Todd Jensen. He's asking if any of you have dedicated staff to manage the information architecture as well as article content.
Oh, sorry, can you just repeat that, Mitch?
Well, absolutely. The question is from Todd Jensen. He's asking about if you had dedicated staff that managed the information architecture as well as managing the content of the articles.
Sure. This is Anita from Manhattan. And sure, what a lot of my job is working with different people in my division, in my department, and working just setting up the documentation for their different roles, whether it be systems people, networking people, and just documenting the steps that they do. And as a service organization, I think that one of our biggest assets is the knowledge that we're getting from doing all the work on the help desk and all the other processes that we follow.
This is JC from Mankato. Do we have any dedicated staff? For us, that's a kind of difficult question. Yes and no. As far as building what the style guide and what's the structure for the knowledge article, that fell onto our implementation team, as well as we have what's called the KCS Council. That's kind of the governing body of that, ensuring that the processes are being followed. As far as creation of the content and ensuring that it follows those standards, it really falls onto all of our employees. We've trained all of our employees on KCS, so we know like our service desk might not be the technical experts, and so our technical experts are trained into how do you write these knowledge articles to fit this standard. As well as to ensure that we're capturing the context of our customer, because we want to provide them knowledge and feedback. And so by ensuring that we're capturing their context, we're also making it searchable. And so as far as who it falls on to, like I said, myself and my team for the building of the process, ensuring those processes are followed. We also have a coaching staff of just individuals throughout our IT program that ensure that they have their trainees of individuals that go throughout our process. And it's their job to make sure that all of the people on their teams are reaching and writing that content in the proper format.
I wanted to piggyback off what JC said really quick, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but before I started working at the University of Minnesota, I was at Minnesota State University Mankato alongside JC and worked with him on part of their implementation. So to kind of summarize the answer for your question, Todd, when you look at the architectures of the knowledge base and the article content strategists, you can have one dedicated knowledge manager, but it really falls down to the KCS council and the coaches to kind of help manage that documentation to make sure that it is usable and as well as verified information.
All right, thank you. Are we ready for the next question?
Sure.
Okay. This question is, how long did it take to implement KCS?
So,
for us in Mankato, it took us about 9 months, but that was also at the time, like Shane had mentioned, we were working on it together. He was on the initial implementation team with me and 2 others, and we were support analysts at the time, so it wasn't our full-time job to build it, but we ended up from basically, I think I got certified in November, and we were able to, November 2013, and by July 2014, we rolled out with our first wave of KCS. And that just was, by wave, I mean a section of IT. We didn't want to implement to everyone right away because we didn't want everyone coming to us with the same questions, getting discouraged, and then not wanting to follow the process with our tool. And so we started with just our customer services group. In December 2014, we rolled it out to, we did it with a service desk group. In December 2014, we rolled it out to our customer services after we had fixed some of our process and tool issues. And then in March 2015 is when we finally rolled out to all of IT.
I'll follow JC up there. So I left Mankato 6 months ago and started at the University of Minnesota. I've been here for 6 months, and in the 6-month time frame, I now finally have managerial buy-in. So it took me 6 months just to get management buy-in and director buy-in to KCS. So we are working on our implementation, and kind of one of the big things that opened their eyes to why KCS is important. There's a lot of initial pushback as we are a research center that do high performance computing, and they perceive themselves as being different from your standard IT shop. We don't help customers fix computers. We're all about HPC and big data, but yet we run over 400 software packages that help professors do research here on campus. And they had their incident management siloed into one tool. They had their knowledge management for internal documentation siloed into one tool. And then we used our website for external documentation. And coordinating that between 3 separate tools, there was different knowledge and different messages and different types of articles in all 3 of those. And it was kind of the same barrier that we had to break down when we initially started this at Mankato. So that's where I'm at with my implementation process at the University of Minnesota.
So in Manhattan, we've been, I'll say, trying to do training for a long time. I myself was hired as a trainer back in, 2003, and then I ended up finding myself spending more time fixing things than actually doing any knowledge management or teaching. And then it's very recent. Anita got hired back in July. It's very recent that we actually got to a point where we could actually hire a full-time trainer and actually expect them to actually do training versus, getting sucked into, actually help desk calls or other such projects. So I think we've got a good start going. In regard to the framework per se, I think just kind of setting up the tool didn't take us too long because, we had a lot of it set up, and then we just were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to want to identify things the way we've been doing it? But I think that the bigger push in making sure people are doing everything properly and getting on top of people is coming. I don't think we're quite there yet. I'm fairly confident there are probably knowledge and tickets that we should be capturing that are getting falling through the cracks. So I think we do need to get a little bit more on top of that. And I don't really have an estimate. I'm guessing maybe by the time the fall comes around, we'll have a better grasp on that. But that's, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, that sounds like a good way to do. And what we probably want to do is involve more people, give more training to the student workers on the KCS and getting more buy-in and more people involved and writing the articles who are on the front line, tier 1.
Okay,
I do want to add one additional thing to that. Something that Shane had talked about is the gaining the buy-in from the executive level. That is key to having KCS become a success, is that you need to have that top-down level support of, yes, we are going to do this, and that push that, this is going to be an organizational change and we will make this a success. Without it, from everything that I've seen, most KCS initiatives will likely fail.
Yeah, well, the good news is our CIO is on board, so that should help.
So we have a couple questions, so let me throw one out here. So the first one is from Chelsea. She's asking if any of you have non-support IT staff that add projects and architecture documents to your knowledge base.
At Manhattan, currently, no.
At the U of M, we not so much project and architecture documentation. However, in our knowledge base, in our internal sections, we have some HR documentation, not personal HR documentation, but common folks that our HR rep, common questions that our HR rep will get from, let's say, new employees or when they're onboarding employees and or offboarding employees. So we cornered an internal section of our new knowledge base for them, and they've added some non-technical items to our knowledge base for internal folks.
For us in Mankato, we haven't yet. Some of the talks that we've had are possibly starting up a community where customers can add their own knowledge, and then we would kind of go over it and make sure it's formatted properly. That's probably a long ways off still. The other thing that we've discussed about was bringing KCS to other functional areas within the organization, such as our residential life area, because they use knowledge too, and KCS isn't IT specific. Over the years, the terminology has been fairly more IT, but especially in the KCS version 6 that just came out recently, they're even changing the verbiage of it to make it known that it applies really to any kind of customer service related area. Any place that uses knowledge can use it, and so we're taking a look at how we can expand it here in Mankato.
Okay, another question here is, and this is for the panel. So do you publish your articles as public so that anyone can see them? Or is there some kind of authentication or behind a login? Or do you do both?
Both. It depends. There's certain things that only IT itself can see. There's certain things that only Manhattan College, people with Manhattan College logins can see. And there are certain things that are public, and it just depends on the audience and, whether we want to hide that information for example, we have Office 365 as an option that people can self-register for. So we wouldn't want to make that public because we wouldn't want everybody, using our thing, but we do want to make sure that anybody from Manhattan College login would know that. But then we might have something that is an internal IT procedure that we don't necessarily want members of the Manhattan College community to see. Or even within IT, our systems team wanted us to have some documentation in the knowledge base that only they could see and none of the other divisions could see. I guess we're getting another call. Sorry about that.
In Mankato, we do both as well. As part of the kind of what's built in with KCS and the recommendation is to make sure that you have a life cycle for each of your knowledge articles. And so with it, there's some pieces that they recommend that you really should have and some pieces that maybe not so necessarily. But for us, we have, as far as internal, we have work in progress where the article isn't, it may not be formatted or may not just know if it's validated or not, has the correct resolution. We have a draft where we think it's ready to go, and then a coach, so we can get a second pair of eyes on it, grades it. And then we have approved, which means it's been verified, but it's still internal use only, because there's just some stuff that the public doesn't need to know, just kind of like what Rich was saying. And then we have our publish that we publish onto our web pages. and that's all driven through our CRM tool.
And then
And
the approved
what was
JC.
that?
Approved JC for internal use only.
Yep, the approved is for internal use only, and then and then the published is for the public knowledge base. And then we also have other ones like review and archive.
Right. So the JC summed it up there really nice. Let's see where that from. The different phases. I brought the same life cycle to the University of Minnesota, and that's kind of how we are implementing ours as well, just based off the different life cycles of the KCS life cycle, whether it be for internal, external, or public, based off those different approved, published life cycles.
All right, thank you for that. Another question is, so someone's asking, Jennifer's asking about tips to get folks to add the consideration of documents into their daily processes when maybe the environment hasn't had a focus, or perhaps the best tools to help foster this behavior. So part of that organizational change and, getting people to change their behavior and, so how would you address that?
So we're very early on, as I mentioned. So I don't know that we're the best tip givers, but I found, generally speaking, not just for KCS, for everything, is explaining why it's important. So explaining why it's helpful to them. So like getting across to the technician, hey, if you document how you fix this, then you're not gonna have to deal with it again. If it comes up again, just send them an email with a link to what you already wrote, and then let them just fix it. I think that's the key thing, is like, why is this helping the person that you're trying to get to do it?
I want to echo that, and that's exactly how we approached it here in Mankato. Is how does it actually affect you? And so some of the more difficulty people that get involved has been like some of our more technical staff. Well, why should I write that down? And the answer is because we understand everyone in our organization is busy doing their job, so we're not trying to add something to it. We're trying to say, if you add this knowledge article, you no longer have to deal with all the tickets that are coming your way. And by explaining that, they will have more time to work on the projects that they actually need to get done and want to get done. It's gotten to be huge for us. In addition, as I mentioned previously, getting that executive level top-down support to kind of start to foster a new culture. As KCS, if you're trying to go to KCS, it really is a cultural change, cultural shift of ideology and methodology. It's more making knowledge the way you do business instead of just answering phone calls or fixing the servers.
Hey, JC, would you mind following up a little bit? We had a Jeannie from Wayne State. She's asking about some best arguments to convince Tier 2 support. Sounds like, less work on their behalf, but what are some other good arguments?
Yeah, less work has been a major proponent for us. And allowing the customer to find it themselves is another argument that we've used. Because ideally, the customer doesn't want to have to call us or communicate with us. They want to be able to have their stuff fixed. And so if we have it in a place that they can find it, they no longer have to call us, which also makes the people on the Tier 1 and Tier 2 support a lot happier, because they're not getting those tickets coming back to them. And Shane might have some additional arguments as well.
Yep, I can piggyback off those things. So I've never been a system admin. I'm not a sysadmin, but I perceive there's nothing more annoying than a sysadmin continuing to get the same question asked of them by a help desk staff. One of the first things that I noticed here in my new job here at the University of Minnesota is information was spread everywhere. And I had to go to a lot of system admins to find out simple work, and they said, oh, we don't have that written down here or there. So we started to develop some just pages about different types of software packages, different forms of configuration for the customers that then I could use for them. So they instantly saw the benefit, because now When you look at the metrics over a 6-month time frame, I have reduced tickets getting escalated to them by about 28%. Not a huge number, but over time, as we continue to grow and to continue to develop our knowledge base, they'll see more and more giving the tier 2 and the system admins time to work on their projects. And that's what they want to focus on, is their projects instead of their help desk support tickets. Another big factor in convincing them to help, I think I'm reading 2 different questions here. So
Don't worry about Shane. I'll make sure those questions get to you. So
okay. But basically convincing them that you can reduce their workload when it comes to support and let them focus on their projects was one of the best ways that I sold it here at the U of M, and that we did sell it at Mankato. And then there's when JC and I were working at Mankato, we riled different coworkers against one another in a good way. What we did was we had a gaming system where, as they contributed more knowledge to the knowledge base, they gamified up a point system. And when you can get 2 managers to try to contribute 10 articles as fast as possible so that they can have a good working quote-unquote rivalry, if you will, it motivates them because they each want to succeed and they each want to do it better. It was a unique way of motivating managers and system admins, was with a little friendly competition amongst one another.
anybody on the panelists want to add to that, or are we ready for the next question?
I just want to say that idea.
Go ahead, Rich. And then
I just wanted to say that I love that idea.
Oh yeah. Gamifying is always good, right? Get people interested.
And the gamification has really helped. We've had we actually post like a leaderboard and include different prizes as well. Like once you reach KCS level 3, you get to have a small 3D item printed that you get to keep in your cube. And so we can't do like a lot with rewards, but we've done as much as we really can with trying to encourage people. Another thing that we also did from the onset is create a balanced scorecard of how does this help the institution financially, how does it help the employees, how does it help professional growth, how does it help our customers, and that's also helped to motivate people.
Great answers. So I have a tool question and a training question, so I'll tack those on towards the end. I did hear your question, so I will get to those. The one question I wanted to bring up here is from Todd Jensen again. He's asking about feedback from customers and or the use of metrics. So how do you determine what to invest time in regarding the article creation or content? And sometimes Google is really good at answering questions, right? So how do you compete with that, or how do you deal with that?
So at Manhattan, that's kind of like I think a 3-faceted question. So let me know if I missed one of them. But in regard to Google, don't compete with Google. Join Google. So for years I've always been touting as my supervisor, if somebody has a really great knowledge base article out there and there's no reason for you not to use it, use it. So our whole Google section, because we're a Google App School, our whole Google section is all pretty much linked out to Google knowledge bases. So don't reinvent the wheel. If they have good knowledge bases out there, we use them. And in fact, Anita does a really good job of, she subscribed to like the Google listservs and whatnot. And, when something relevant comes out, she'll even just like throw it up in our blog and, link out to the source, obviously, in all cases. But I wouldn't compete. If something good's out there, just use that. The other question was metrics. So we actually have Team Dynamics ticketing system, and I'm assuming you all have some sort of an ICSM tool on which you can get some metrics on what services the tickets are attributed to. So Anita, that was one of the first things she asked me for when she started. Is like, oh, I want to see what are the majority of tickets coming in, who are they coming in from, so she could get a sense for, do I need to, who's my audience? So do I need to attract students to come to this session? Do I need to attract faculty? And a more recent one was with fishing. So she wanted to know like the tickets related to fishing, scams that we get, who's falling prey the most, so I can, reach out to those people. Did I miss something? Was there something else that I missed on that?
Well, it sounds like you touched them on the metrics and getting feedback from customers.
Oh, feedback. Yes,
Yeah.
we so built into the system as well. There's the ability to mark an article as helpful or not helpful, and when you do so, it then prompts you for a comment. So more often than not, we either get helpful or not helpful, but on occasion we actually get, oh, this part of the article was confusing. So actually Anita and I review that report weekly, and then when it's something addressable, we do address it. So there's been at least a couple of times where we modified a knowledge-based article based on feedback provided by the client.
So for us in Mankato, when you ask how do we determine what to invest in regarding to article content, like what to put in, we really drive that from whatever our customers are asking us. So when a customer contacts us, the first thing that we do is we check our knowledge base to see if we have an article out there that can help them. If we do, then we let them know, and we go through those steps. We verify that that information is correct, and that's where that revise and review comes in that Shane spoke about earlier. If we don't, before we can close that ticket, we make sure that an article needs to be created from that ticket. And so that's how we ensure that our content is out there. And it's really driven by the customer, because they're the ones that are coming to us. They're the ones that need to have this information. And we ensure that we're capturing the content in their context, the context of the customer. So if they call in and say, my black box doesn't work, we don't translate that to my computer doesn't work. Even if that's a quick jump for an IT person, that might not be for someone that's very non-technical. And so by having that context, we're able to really allow our customers to search the knowledge base and be able to find what they're looking for. As far as feedback from our customers, we have in the past had a couple ways that we've done feedback. In our old CRM, we had them on the knowledge article. They could say if that helped them or not. And then if it didn't, what was wrong with it? What we actually found most times with that is it wasn't the knowledge article was wrong. It was still a human error. But we still took that with a grain of salt. And if there was an issue, we would fix it within the knowledge article. In addition, we go out and we talk to our community through tech fairs. And we show them how to what happens when they contact us, that we go through that, looking through the knowledge article and ensuring that they have the knowledge out there right away. And so that's some additional feedback we give and get from our customers. As far as metrics, there's quite a few that we've taken a look at. And one thing to note is that you can't improve upon a process if you're not measuring something. And so metrics are really key. But we take a look at total tickets coming in. How are they coming in? Is it phone? Is it email? Is it from our portal? We take a look at the number of phone calls we're getting. We take a look at which knowledge articles are being used. So for every ticket, we need to attach a knowledge article or create one. And so by doing that, we can then start kind of going into problem management and taking a look at why are we having so many issues with resetting my password, and what can we do to start alleviating some of those issues. And it really hooks pretty nicely within the incident, knowledge, and problem all hook pretty conjointly. And what we found after we took all of our measurements is that we also do customer surveys. After all the measurements, after we implemented, we actually found our total phone calls went down, our total tickets went down, our total visits to our knowledge base went way up, and our customer satisfaction scores went up across all levels. And so we've been continuing to measure those and make sure that we are succeeding. If we're not succeeding on those metrics, then sitting back down, identifying what can we do better from this.
That's to piggyback off JC. Unfortunately yet in the new role I'm in, I haven't been able to get to the point to measure some of those things, but a lot of those of what he spoke of, the metrics that we used at Mankato, were all really good. And once we showed those to our supervisors and to our assistant CIOs and CIOs, they could instantly see the benefit that KCS was making and would make if we all kept buying into the process and improving on the process.
Oh, great. So Frank from Boston College, I would say here, is asking about both implementation. Did you have an implementation partner? And did you get training from some institution like HDI? So has there been formal, sorry, from Frank from Boston University, my apologies. Have you gone through formal KCS training? Who was a provider? And did you use like an implementation partner to help with your design and implementation?
So I'll go quick because we don't have any formalized training, no implementation partner. That's it. I figured it would be quick, so I'd say that.
For JC and I, we both went to KCS training through HDI, and since we're Minnesota folk, we went and took the class out in Sacramento, California, by the name of a gentleman named Randy Casilla. Is that right, Grooms? JC?
That sounds right.
And it was a good class. It was a quick 4-day class, really knowledgeable, information overload. But when he came back, we started, and we didn't have an implementation partner, but we took what we had learned from the class and started building our initial project. And then once we were into that, I had went to the KCS training, came back, and we continued with our implementation.
And as Shane mentioned, I did go through the HCI certification. As far as having an implementation partner, we did not. However, as we continue to improve upon our processes, we also reach out to as many people as we can. We've reached out to different companies. We've reached out to a lot of different people. We actually went through a new tool and getting a new tool. And one of the first things I did was make sure that we went on the forums and started asking people, how do you get this tool to work with KCS? Is anyone using KCS? Do you want to talk about it? We also talked to a lot of different universities about how they use KCS, if they use it, and where they're along in the process. And so there's really a lot of good communities out there that can be of help. On LinkedIn, there's a knowledge centered support group that's led by Rick Jocelyn. I think he's the executive vice president for training at HCI. It's a really helpful group where you can go and ask questions and people respond very quickly.
Okay, this is a nice segue into some tool questions. So someone from Wake Forest is asking about integrating KCS into the ITSM tool. Is it in your institution, do you have it integrated into your tool? If not, there are standalone products that you use, and what advice would you give for integrating into your current tool?
So Manhattan, we have Team Dynamics, which has ITSM, PPM, knowledge management, all mixed, and I see a lot of value in that because so when closing a ticket, for example, or just providing an update to a ticket, you can check mark to create a knowledge base article from that update. So while it's not necessarily all cleaned up, at least it captures the essence of the resolution, and then it goes into kind of like a queue that Anita would monitor of submitted knowledge base articles. So then she can go in, ask that technician any questions, because then it links to the ticket, so she knows who did it. She can reach out to that technician, say, hey, I have some questions about this, help me clean this up. She can clean it up and then approve it and publish it. So whether it's already pre-built in or whether you get something that can later tie in, I think it is important to have that connection. I think it'll make your life a lot easier.
Go ahead, Shane.
At the University of Minnesota, we are using ServiceNow, which the larger OIT, the IT department at the University of Minnesota, uses. And since we are a subset of IT and research computing, we have our own slice of ServiceNow. We kind of have our own built-in bucket where just our folks can integrate within that. So we can create our own knowledge, our own instance within our slice of ServiceNow. However, it is beneficial within that tool because we can go directly into the Office of Information Technology's knowledge articles, incidents, things like that. So if a customer of ours contacts us because they think they're having an MSI issue, but it's really an OIT issue, we can go right into their knowledge bases and work from there.
We're also the same. We have we're integrated within our tool as well. We were previously on Oracle Service Cloud. Before that, it was called Right Now. Now we are on Sharewell. Both tools where we were able to get knowledge into it, and I would recommend if you can that at least if you can get incident and knowledge together in the same tool, that is probably a better option. But I also want to point out it's not the only option. It really, you can use the practices of KCS with any tool that you have, whether it be just a SharePoint site or even Microsoft Word. There are a couple standalone knowledge tools as well. The two that I'm most familiar with are ComAround. They're based out of the Netherlands, and Right Answers. Right Answers was created by Rick Jocelyn and a couple other people that are pretty prominent in the knowledge management KCS world. And so you can still do it, and you can still connect, try to make any connection you can between the incident and knowledge, but it may be a little more difficult for you.
So the next question we have is, what techniques do you use to ensure that the new knowledge base articles don't conflict with older ones?
So some quick thoughts on that. So the way ours is set up, and I'm assuming others would be similar, is it's like category setup. So, the category setup is built in such a way that when you make something, it clearly goes in a particular category. And when you go to that category, if you see something that's more or less the same title, I mean, that would be where you would then have the conflict and then determine whether or not you're going to do it. And also, that's one of Anita's big roles, is looking at the newly submitted knowledge base articles and looking at what's there, and also just as a general rule of thumb, at minimum once a year, kind of reviewing all knowledge base articles, seeing their relevancy and what needs to be updated. So I think that kind of all, I don't know that that's the best technique, but I think that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. So I'm curious to hear what others are doing.
And Team Dynamics also allows you to tag your knowledge base article when you're searching. So when you put in the subject, and if it's already covered, you make sure you're not duplicating efforts.
One of the bigger techniques that we used that is built into the KCS process, since KCS is the purpose of it is to revise on reviews, revise upon use. So when your technicians are going to use the knowledge base, they should be searching, and if they are searching for Windows 10, they should find all related Windows 10 articles. Therefore, they should not have to create a Windows 10 article because there should already be something in there. Yeah. So that's kind of that revise on review process. If that somehow is not catching duplicate KB articles, then it was upon our coaches, when one of their coachees or one of the technicians would submit an article for draft and they say, please, review this. I think I've submitted a killer article here. They would look to see if there was already other similar articles, and sometimes they had to be heartbreaking and say, well, I'm sorry you put a lot of work into this, but there's already an article on connecting your email to Outlook 2016. So we kind of had a twofold layer of how to kind of catch conflicts. But specifically talking about old ones, once you have archived, so for example, when we started our knowledge base at Mankato, we archived all of our XP articles. So there, you kind of don't, when you archive something, if it's a retired service or an out-of-date operating system, and then you see later down the road that we actually need that, your coaches or your council can archive that, update it to bring it back into relativity.
Thank you.
Shane pretty much hit.
Sorry.
Shane hit pretty much mostly everything I wanted to say as well. It really is everyone's responsibility. We do tie it to our service catalog. One of the additional pieces we have too is we have what's called knowledge domain experts, and those are experts in specific areas. Anyone can be a coach in our organization, but not everyone can be a knowledge domain expert because they don't have that knowledge. And the coaches, it's not their responsibility to know everything about everything. So I can't know everything about web development. And so in our web development area, we have a knowledge domain expert that also is working to comb through the knowledge articles, try to avoid the duplicates, and ensure that they're following, they have the right information in them.
All right, so I just want to recognize the IT firefighter in the room. Blake Adams from West Georgia University is asking, when he's out in the field and goes to a client's desk, how can he access the knowledge article? Would he do that from the client's PC, or would he have to bring kind of his own device?
Whatever they prefer in our regard, because I forgot what they call it. But basically, the way that the client portal, which is where the knowledge base is housed, is designed, is it formats for whatever you're looking at it on. So, like if it's on a small iPhone, you can see it fine. If it's on a big computer, you're fine. Tablet, etc. So they have the option to use their own device or the client's device.
And to piggyback off that for you, Blake. I was a technician for several years, and depending on the tool that you have, so when I was at Mankato, I used Sharewell, now I use ServiceNow. Both are web-based portals. So you can, if you're taking like an iPad or something with you to the client, you can use that to log on, or even, incognito from the customer's PC to log into the portals. If you have a thick client though, where it's only installed on your local PC, I haven't had to personally work with that. But there's things that maybe emailing them to yourself or taking a mobile device with you with the thick client on to your customer's office.
Yeah, it all depends on your tool and what capabilities that has as far as where you can view it. As Shane mentioned, Sharewell is web-based, so we can view it on the web. It's got its own app. We can use it on phones, tablets, just about anywhere. But it all depends on what you need. If you don't have that, maybe you do have to bring your own device and then remote connect into your machine. It just depends on what tool sets you have in the organization.
So we have about 10 minutes. I had one canned question here that I wanted to make sure we threw out there. This is really kind of a two-parter. So I have knowledge management. So why do I need KCS, and how does KCS support or complement knowledge management?
So I'll just say that, and I might not be, I definitely don't consider myself an expert in this. So people can correct me if I misspeak in any way, but the way I look at it is knowledge management is just kind of a general thought of just collecting knowledge, right? And KCS is more centered on collecting the information that's created in the day-to-day dealings of fixing issues and making sure that that's logged. So I think the idea is that if you're not working with KCS, then you are limiting your source material. That's my thought.
For us, the way I think about it is, if you're able to make the cultural change, KCS is definitely, it's been a proven methodology. It was built by the Consortium for Service Innovation. It's had industry leaders over and over and over again revise it. It doesn't make sense not to listen to the experts on a lot of things. And so we want to follow that if we can. And so, like I said, KCS is just a form of utilizing knowledge management. There are other ways you can do knowledge management. There are books out there that explain them. But if you can change that culture, KCS really, it's changing the way you do business. It's putting it more customer facing. It's giving the customer the opportunity to get the knowledge that they need so that they can be successful as well.
My answer to that question is, why do I need KCS? I'm already using knowledge management. My background, my undergrad, one of my degrees was technical communication. So I thought I was an expert in being able to write how-to documentation for different users. One of the things that KCS did for me and for both the organizations I've worked at is it helped me realize that a lot of documentation can be written in the eyes of the writer and in the eyes of the technicians rather than in the eyes of the user and the customer. You can write all sorts of documentation in the world, but just because it makes sense to you doesn't mean it makes sense to your customers and to your users. We all come from different backgrounds, different paths, we all have different stories. And KCS helped us write documentation for everybody from different stories.
So then would it be safe to say that, like most ITIL processes, they talk about what you should do and not how you should do it, and KCS is one way of doing knowledge management?
I would say that'd be a correct statement, yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and I want to point out too that just because you do ITIL, KCS and ITIL are synergistic. It's not I do ITIL or I do KCS. KCS really fits nicely within the ITIL framework of utilizing knowledge. But the difference being, ITIL is a framework. There are pieces that you can take and use, but you don't have to. With KCS, it's a methodology where they recommend there's 8 things that you really need to have, which is the double loop process to really make sure that it is successful.
Okay, any other thoughts on that before I move on to what would appear to be our final question?
I would just add that, like, the way we're just getting into the KCS, but it's just incorporating the knowledge into your solution and your processes. And I like what JC said too about, writing it from the user's point of view, the client's point of view is so important.
Yeah, absolutely couldn't agree with you more. So our final question is from Frank. He is asking that he agrees that the LinkedIn KCS group is a really good place to start or place to go. You mentioned earlier on in our session about learning from other institutions. So what are the, if you will, the gold standards, other schools or institutions you've talked to that have helped you and your institution personally move along the KCS journey?
You said, so which institutions, Mitch?
Sorry, yeah, just the gold standards, like the institutions that really have helped you the most along your KCS journey. So at least of University of Phoenix is a good place to go to.
For us, most of the institutions that we've talked to have been pretty much the same level as us when we've spoken with them. We spoke with a lot of them as we were implementing, and they were implementing too. So I guess I can't say that they were the gold standard, but it was nice to know that others were on the same journey that we were, and we could bounce ideas off of. Like we talked with Arizona State University for quite a while, going back and forth of how they're implementing it and the different scales. Because Mankato is about 15,000 students, and Arizona State is the largest state institution in the nation. So there were definitely differences, but it was nice to be able to have those other communities and people that were going through the same stuff we were, and being able to explain the ditches to each other of things to avoid, and share our successes as we had them as well, so that both of us could succeed in this initiative.
So for us, the only one so far, like I said, this is very new for us. I went to a conference in May and sat in a presentation from Kaylee Belda from WKU, which I think was Western Kentucky University, if I'm not mistaken. so we're looking to open up more communications with her, and she seemed to be doing a good job there.
To piggyback off of what JC said, Arizona State University was a good one. Also, in my short time here with the University of Minnesota, I've realized that their knowledge management system is quite in depth, and they're really ingrained into it, as they are service management and ITSM service management as a whole. And then JC and Mankato would also be a gold standard for us to look back at now.
I was trying to find my unmute because I just shared a screen. You'll see, I know I'm talking to myself. The panelists' contact information, I'll put it up there for a few more minutes. Again, I just want to thank Shane, JC, Anita, and Rich for your time, for presenting on KCS. I think it was very informative. I think a lot of people are now kind of getting excited about implementing or starting down that journey. I just want to remind the audience that the transcripts and the recording will be available on the EDUCAUSE wiki site within 5 business days. And just as a reminder, to view upcoming and past recordings, please visit the ITSM CG wiki site. If you just go to EDUCAUSE and search for ITSM and wiki, you'll find it. Just want to again thank the panelists for their time. And everyone have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.